When it comes to canning and preserving and putting up food for your family, so many people think that you have to grow all this food yourself. It's a common myth I see out there, and there's this idea that you should be able to do it all somehow. My man and I don't do it all. We can, hundreds of jars of food every year. We freeze food, we dehydrate it, we put it up. But we actually don't grow all of our own food. Our property we have here was created from raw land. We're working to put in fruit trees and different things, but we certainly do not grow everything we put up. We hunt, we fish, we forage, and we also glean. Gleaning simply means we go into somebody else's property and harvest fruit from their plants, from what they've got there, and then we bring it home and put it up ourselves. Today, I'm just going to bring you along and show you we're headed in. We know somebody who has a bunch of fruit trees in their backyard. They don't use the fruit, and so we are going in to harvest that today. So I just want to bring you along and hopefully inspire you to dive into putting food up for your family, even if, yes, you don't raise it yourself. One of the things I love to glean, in the fall especially, are grapes. Now, we use grapes to make homemade fruit vinegar. We will can the juice for a tasty winter drink. So let's get started. Let's get a bunch of these harvested and get them home. How's that for a starter? When you are gleaning, it's actually really important that you take time to inspect the fruit. Sometimes when you're gleaning, it's often from fruit trees or berries or grapevines that people have just let go in their backyard. Sometimes that fruit will have bugs, pests, worms in it. And before you harvest a whole bunch of it, be sure you inspect it to make sure that it's actually good for whatever your plan is for that product. Which also brings me to another point, is that when you glean, have a plan. Have a plan, know how much you need so that you don't get too much, because if you're anything like me, that's easy to do when stuff is free. And I want to specifically take you over to an apple tree and show you one sign, specifically when you're working with apples and pears, a sign that fruit is not good for cold storage. It's okay for making sauce or jams or that type of thing. But I want to show you one common pest that we get that I always keep my eye out for when I am gleaning here in the northern part of the world. This apple tree has some beautiful apples on it, but these apples have an issue, and I want to show you what that issue is. All right, let me see if I can get my camera to focus here. You see these little spots in the apples. These aren't just scabs. They're like little round holes. Sometimes you can see there's almost what looks like sawdust coming out of them. This apple has been infected by codling moth, which means it actually isn't suitable for storage. You could juice this or make applesauce with it, but if you cut it open, you're going to find there's some gross stuff inside. And so these apples on this tree actually are not good for cold storage, or they will not keep well either. And if you cut them open, you're going to deal with some pests inside. It's just something to be aware of when you are gleaning, that, it's not going to be the same quality you would get in an orchard that's been carefully taken care of. Be sure to look things over. Make sure you're willing to deal with whatever the issue might be. If there's an issue, sometimes there's not, but keeping an eye out is helpful. Go ahead and, chop some of the fruit open, inspect it, see what's going on. If you have berries, break some of them open, make sure there's not worms in them. Inspect your fruit before you go to all the work of putting it up, because you didn't grow it. You don't know if it's been well taken care of, and you don't know if there's issues with it. So that would be a great tip when you are gleaning from what other people have growing on their land. Grapes, pears, apples, not bad for an afternoon of foraging. At this point, you're probably thinking, hey, Autumn, that's great for you, but I would love to know how you made your connections to people who have fruit or nuts or berries just dropping in their backyard and can't get to them. How did you make those connections? So the best way I have found is actually here in our community, we have a little buy and sell Facebook group, and I have advertised on there, and every time I have put the word out, I have gotten leads. So that is my favorite way, and now it's reached the point where people know me, and sometimes they will call me when their fruit is ready and be like, hey, can you come in? This is ready, I can't get to it. And it's a really great deal for us because we don't have any fruit growing on our own land yet, with the exception of a few berry bushes. So that's been wonderful. But there are two things I want to warn or talk to you about before I let you go here in this video. The first is, if you're going to be going into other people's land, you need to probably bring a fruit picking ladder with you, unless you're harvesting something like berries. But a lot of the fruit in people's backyards where they don't really care about it, they often just let the trees get really big and go crazy. It's very difficult to harvest the fruit in massive giant trees, so a fruit picking ladder is good. And if you go gleaning, also make sure you have lots of boxes and bins and buckets on hand so that you can harvest what you need. Would be a very, very good thing, because it's disappointing when you get there and you're like, oh, I want more, but I don't have more boxes. So make sure you have the tools and the equipment you need to harvest fruit. And then the last thing I would say is make sure you're very respectful of the people's land and their fruit trees, meaning you're not breaking branches out of the fruit trees or, doing things that they are uncomfortable with. Make sure you talk things over with the owner, know what they want. And often what I will do is I will offer to pick fruit for them. So say, hey, I want to come in, I glean. I'd be very happy to harvest some of it for you though, so that you have some. And most of the time people do want, even if it's just a little box, people are very happy with that arrangement. So make sure you express gratitude to whoever's letting you come in. And something we have even done at times is offer to clean up the ground under the tree. So this is especially true with something like apples. We will harvest what we need, shake the tree, clean it off, and then pick up all the windfalls and then either feed them to our animals or haul them to a friend's place where they have livestock. People really appreciate that because rotting fruit can draw in different animals and predators that people may not necessarily want. Here in our area, bears can be an issue. And so that's another service you can offer, and a service that can benefit you if you have animals who will eat apples. So those are some tips for you. I hope this inspires you to think about gleaning. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below and I will get back to you. My name is Autumn Rose. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.